Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jamie. It's Sunday. I'm not going to church. I'm actually going to work for a few hours. It's the last day of the month, and that's what I got to do. So today I'm not talking about options, stocks, options, cryptocurrencies, real estate. I am kind of talking about a self-investment type thing. And so this is kind of a thinking out loud thing about getting beat. Now, if you don't know what that means, I'm going to explain it to you. If you know it, if you're my age, if you're in your mid, I guess it doesn't matter what age you are, but if you're a middle-aged person or an older person, I'm sure you've been beat a few times in different capacities. Some are just complete, ignorance, like you just didn't see it coming, and other times you kind of sensed it, but you let your feelings get in the way, and you have a good heart maybe, and you're trying to help somebody out. It could be business, it could be a friend, it could be a family member, but they're going to beat you. You know that they're most likely, the probabilities are going to beat you. Just like a stock, or something, you're like, oh, I have a good feeling about it, but in your heart, in your gut, you know that it's a mistake. And or a gamble, right? And gambling's not good. Gambling where it's like it's a 50-50 win, to me, is not a great stake to take in. I like to have the higher probability, the advantage, where say I think everything that I'm looking at. Let me give you an illustration. I'm wearing a seat belt, and I have airbags in my car. I'm in a pretty safe car that is structurally safe, that has held up at a crash test. So if I get into a certain accident to some degree, I have a higher probability of not getting hurt or killed than somebody that is not wearing a seatbelt, that does not have airbags, that is in a car that does not have a good crash test rating. So I have a higher probability in the two-car comparison of not getting hurt or killed in a car accident. So that's what I mean by probabilities of one thing or another. No guarantees, right? If I hit a semi-truck going 75 miles an hour head on, chances are no matter what, I'm going to get killed or at least hurt very badly. But you know what I'm trying to say here. So that is what I want to talk about today. If you can learn how to, because it's going to happen. If you can learn how not to get beat, all right, or if you're willing to stake a small loss in people, okay, or a thing, and say, you know what, against my better judgment, I think I'm going to take a chance here, but I'm okay with losing this, whatever this might be. And just like if I invest in a stock and I say, you know what, I think this is a good company overall, it seems like the probabilities are that the company will do well, will perform well in the long run, but it may not, but I'm going to stake this $100, this $1,000, this whatever amount of money into the company. And if I lose it, I won't lose sleep about it. I won't be crushed. I'll be disappointed, but I could live with the loss, okay? So there's times when you are going to meet people, friends, have family members that are going to take advantage of you, and sometimes they just take you for granted. They don't really realize you know that, and it's hurting them more than it's hurting you, but they do it anyway. And I've had that happen many times over the past decade, and let me tell you something, I'm guilty. I did stuff like that when I was younger. I was not a good person. I was a scumbag. I did some really dirty, underhanded stuff when I was younger, and some of it was just because I didn't know any better. And but I can tell you, there's consequences for your actions. They damage your friendships. They damage you. They damage other opportunities. There's always consequences for your words and actions. Mostly your actions, I think. Words to me don't mean that much. I don't really take everything to heart, because a lot of times people say things emotionally. I've done it. You've done it, right? But actions are tough to ignore. Like if I punch you in your face and I'm like, I'm sorry, I was angry. Sorry about that. You can't ignore I busted your face, and you might sue me or beat me up, right? Like there's certain things versus if I just, you're a real jerk, and storm off. You're like, well, you said that in anger, and you might be able to get over the words, right? Sticks and stones, as the saying goes. So there's times I get into certain things, and I don't want to go into all that today, as far as like, here's all the specific examples of big things and little things where, I've made just mistakes that were like, wow, I didn't see that coming. Rug pull, or I kind of smelled what the Rock had cooking and figured this is probably not going to go well. And the reason I say that, I like to use a lot of illustrations, kind of like Jesus did in the Bible with parables, right? Because I thought they really kind of help you to see it in your own way. And I remember going into my grandmother. I have an Italian, she passed away, but my Italian grandmother when I was a kid, every time I came home from school as a kid, she'd be either baking something like cookies or brownies or whatever, some certain dishes, like she'd make chicken parm or smelts or just different thing, pizza. Like I remember coming home and I could smell it as soon as I walked in the house, and she was on the second floor, and going up the stairs, I would get a whiff of what she had cooking, in the kitchen, and it always smelled good. I was like, oh, that smells like she's making fruta de mar. She's making some type of seafood dish, or it smells like some pizza, and she had great pizza. Like I wish I would have, looking back, I wish I would have got her recipe, because I've never tasted a pizza like hers since then. But I always looked forward to what she had cooking, and those that stuck with me to this day. So if I walk in somewhere, it might remind me of my grandmother's cooking, right? In some regard, where it brings me back nostalgia. So sometimes people will do things. They'll say something. Their story will be contradictory. You'll throw out a couple, like a detective or an investigator. You'll say a couple things just to see their response. See if their story matches up, continuity from the last 5-10 times, whatever. You ask them, like, hey, Jamie, could you fill me in again? You were saying that on such and such day at such and such time, whatever. You were over here, right? Or you did this or that. And then Jamie says, yeah, I was, well, this is what happened. Then if you ask them that same question or heard the same question, their story may not be the same as the last time. It may be a little bit different. And then the third time, and the fourth time, say, hey, I could have swore last time. It says right here, right? You ever see the detectives? They got the little notepad there. Jamie, it said that last time you were there, you said that you did this and that, but the last time I asked you, said you did this and the other thing. So I'm a little confused. Can you clear that up for me? And so it goes. So then there's holes in the alibi. There's holes in the story. So if it's a business venture where you're like, hey, I want to partner up with you on this real estate venture, or on this, whatever the asset might be, where you're like, I want to go into business with you and provide a product or a service, and you're excited about it, but there's some concerns, right? You have some concerns about it. And I will tell you, the best thing to do is just like the stock. If I said, hey, I'm willing to lose a little bit of money in this company, I had a company that was called HPIL, that I invested a few $1,000s in, and it had a chance, not a big chance, that it could go up over $1 because they had this technology. It was called Apogee or something. I think it's called Apogee. It was supposed to be a self-charging transmission with a patent and stuff, and they were talking about it. But the way they talked about it, the CEO of the company, which I'm going to mention, his name is Stephen Brown, for this company, the stories, his presentation, he kept putting stuff off about, like, oh, we're going to put the Apogee right here. It's going to go on it's going to go right here. He's doing a tour of his office, and like he was like selling you on what this great, like what this thing is going to be, and it's going to change the world, like Tesla changed the world, and he hinted some partnerships that never came into fruition, and like it was a lot of misleading, misdirecting, a lot of over-promising and under-delivering consistently over and over again. So I never stepped up to invest bigger in something. I was like, wow, it sounds really awesome, but I'm not seeing nothing. Back to actions. I'm not seeing anything that delivers. All I hear is a lot of talk, a lot of lip service. And lip service and talk, some people can sell really well, like sell you a product or a service. But if there's no value, if you don't see any value, if there's no delivery, then you're going to start to lose faith in the product or service. This could be in a friend, family member, or business partner. And then you're going to be like, you know what, I'm not willing to step up. In fact, I'm probably going to step back after a certain amount of time. Well, that company, for example, never delivered. The Apogee person left the company, the one that I guess you find out later that there was a chief technology officer that owned the patent, which was never mentioned, and they left, and that was out the window, and the stock plummeted, and it's been plummeted since. So right now my stocks that I have, and I have 1 million shares, which they're nothing. They're valued at the time. I think I had about $2,000 or $3,000 in, closer to $3,000 in this stock, thinking, well, 3,000 for 1 million is a pretty good win ratio, but I didn't expect to win. I was like, I don't know. I don't think it probably is not going to work out, but I'm hopeful. But when it went down to nothing, which is nothing right now, and the chances of it coming up don't look good, I'm not crushed. I'm not like devastated. I'm disappointed. I'm like, I was hoping that thing went somewhere, even not at the top of my expectations. And this can carry over into anything, right? I've had family members, ask me for money that said, hey, can I borrow a little bit of money, $400? And I purposely gave them the money, knowing their track record saying that they're probably not going to pay me back like they said. And sure enough, they didn't. And that, for me, was my way out. In fact, there's a movie, it's called The Bronx Tale, where, oh my gosh, I can't remember his character. But the two main characters, one of them, his name was Sonny, which was Chaz Palminteri. He plays kind of like the wise guy, the bad guy, kind of good guy. And Sonny was telling, I can't remember the kid's name, but he was telling him, he's like, oh, that guy owes me $20 or owes me some money. And he's like, well, what are you so mad about? He goes, he did you a favor. He's avoiding you. Don't worry about the $20. You just got rid of him for $20. You never have to worry about him again. I remember that scene and that saying because there's been times I've applied that where I said, okay, my family member who was dear to me is trying to beat me over money, and they're trying to take advantage of me. So anytime after that happened, and they'd say, hey, can I borrow this? And I'd say, well, what happened with that $400 you owe me? And that would shut them up. And then they'd actually get defensive and angry. Oh, you think you're better than me, and and I'm like, anyway, you owe me $400, so pay me the $400, and I'm happy to help you with the other thing. And that's your way out. And that's family, which is tough because you have family. You don't want to. You probably don't want to burn your bridge with your family, or get burnt by family, or burn your family, right? Generally, but that happens. People get greedy with inheritances and things like that, and it happens in business too. But you'll be able to start to smell what the Rock has got cooking, as I like to say, or as the Rock likes to say, when you say, oh man, something doesn't seem right. Not literally, you don't smell it, but there's just things that they say and do, and facial expressions, tone of voice, body language. You start to read that because you've seen it over and over again. You get to know when somebody is BSing you, right? Or giving you a story that something is wrong, something is off. And for me, I'd rather find out fast, right? And say, all right, I'm either going to lose this thing, this little bit, whether it's time or money, and be thankful that it didn't go into a bigger thing, right? Because there could have been much bigger stuff that could have hurt or helped either party, but this person chose to do this. I'm sharing this with you because this happens to me now, and it's disappointing. It's happened to me in the past where it was much more painful, but I feel good when I go, I kind of thought it was going to be like that. I'm glad. I'm sad and disappointed. I was hopeful, but it didn't work out. Kind of like HPIL as a comparison for a stock. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Don't have COVID. All right. But I was just like, it's too bad. I took a small stock, or stock, not stock, but investment into this thing. It did not work out, but better to know now and wash my hands and move on than to waste my time and energy on this thing, whether it's a company, a person, or whoever it is, and say, this ain't working out, and cut your losses, right? I think sometimes if things aren't working out, I think there's a saying that goes, hire slow, fire fast, right? Hire slow means you do background check, you ask for references, you look at the job history, you do drug test, all the things that are important to see if you increase the probabilities that you got a good employee. And then if there's some stuff bad, right? Like if there's things that they show up consistently, they're late, They're treating people badly, customers, co-workers. They're stealing. They're not hitting their objectives. Whatever the case might be that he or she or they may not be able to do. If it's consistent and you can see it, you got to make a quick decision. You're like, okay, either he or she is going to get it together, or I don't see this going anywhere, and I'm going to cut my loss and move on. And sometimes it's better to cut your loss, because in the grand scheme of things, in the long run, it's way better. It's way better to go through that little bit of discomfort and than to have this cancer, so to speak, affecting your company or you yourself. And there's been a lot of times I've done that where it's painful, but in the long run, I'm so glad that I got it over with. So you got to act, and sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable one way or the other. But if you feel like you getting beat, right, you probably are. And if you think you're getting beat, you got to ask questions, and they may be uncomfortable, and you can decide how you want that to play out. For me, I'm happy to smile, and because I have a different perception at this stage of my life where I don't want to be angry. I don't want to point fingers, because I've done a lot of bad stuff. I'm not perfect, right? But I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be a better man, a better father, someone that gets respect by their actions and their deeds, not just by their lip service. You know what I mean? And that's important to me. So don't get beat, guys. All right. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.